الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ومولانا أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين ولعنة الله على أعدائهم إلى يوم الدين. We're continuing our topics of ethics in the Holy Qur'an, and we are trying to divide different ethical topics and learn how to deal with the struggles that we have in our lives through recitation of holy verses of the Holy Qur'an. As we know, brothers and sisters, we live in a time of distraction. We live in a time where everything seems to want to take us away from religion and away from God. And when you look at some of the statistics, especially in the US, and consumerism and capitalism, causing us to be distracted and buying and shopping. And as you see some of the statistics I'd like to share tonight, is that some of them will amaze you, is that a US child that makes up maybe 3.7% of all the children in the world, US children, when you count how many they are compared to all the children in the world, they're 3.7%, around 3.7%. If you look at how much of the toys and how many of the children books they own, the statistics mentions that 47%, almost half of all the toys and half of all the books are here in the US. We said that the average American, according to the LA Times, owns 300,000 items. They counted this, and I looked at the article. Even like a paper clip counts as an item. 300,000 items. We don't even know where to put our stuff. And when you look at the amount of clothes, for example, the average American throws away 65 pounds of clothing each year. 65 pounds of clothing. Those that travel a lot, that's like what? About almost a suitcase, a little bit more than a suitcase. Usually our suitcases are excess baggage anyway, so let's just say it is one suitcase. Then we look at the Wall Street Journal says Americans spend 1.2 trillion annually on non-essential goods, 1.2 trillion. Now, all of us are guilty of this to some extent, and I don't expect you to only buy, for example, bread and salt. I'm not saying that. But to understand that we live in a time period that there's an overabundance. There's too much around us, and we're getting used to that Amazon delivery truck coming every day at our home. And if that day we don't do ziyarat of the Amazon delivery guy, then it is a bad day for us because we didn't see him at all. Then we order something so we can see him tomorrow. Wa alaikum salam. So wa alaikum salam. MashaAllah, Allah protect you. So therefore we see that we're living in a place. One of the speakers was saying, you heard of weapons of mass destruction. It says we're living in a time of weapons of mass distraction. And that is one part, buying, having too much around us. Well, obviously every item that you have around you distracts you. So how can we, while we're living in such a time that nobody ever had as much abundance, such a time period possibly, how can we stay focused and be an abd of God, a slave of God, a servant of God, and not be distracted, not to be unmindful? Because to be a good Muslim, we have to keep our focus on many different things. We can't just keep our focus on God. We have to also keep our focus on creation. When it comes to creation, we have to remind ourselves of our parents, family members, children. We have responsibilities, our wives, our husbands, for example. Or when it comes to others, the poor, the destitute, to remind ourselves of them, those that need help. To be a complete Muslim. And each one of these, if you don't have, you're not complete. And remembering the oppressed. Again, if you remember God well, You do ziyarat of Imam Hussein alayhi salam very beautifully. Muharram comes and goes, and you just said, I did good azadari for Imam Hussein this year. I fed a lot of people, I cried a lot. But you never reminded yourself of the oppressed. Because one of the connections and messages that Imam Hussein alayhi salam has taught us is to be mindful of the oppressed, to fight against those that are oppressing. This is when Imam Musa Sadr, a great scholar, he comes to Lebanon and he brings the Shia together and says this statement. He says there are those that I'm sorry to say this, he said it, it's not my words. He says there are those that cry for Imam Hussein alayhi salam, but they behead Imam Hussein alayhi salam. He says, how do you know if you cry for Imam Hussein but yet behead Imam Hussein? He says, you cry for him and then you kill the message of Imam Hussein. You go and become friends with the oppressors, with those that are taking people's resources, their land, for example. He says, you kill the message of Imam Hussein means you're beheading Imam Hussein. It doesn't matter if you're crying or not. So we have to be in a state where we're remembering so many different things at the same time. Alhamdulillah, we saw in this week, in the last few weeks, that college students have waken up. It took maybe 6 months, but alhamdulillah, they finally are awake. And that effort that all of you have done, and everyone, it's not one person's effort to remember Palestine in this country. It's not one person's effort. All of you are, alhamdulillah, part of this movement of helping people, helping others know about what's going on in Gaza. And it wouldn't be done without you, because if you just allow legacy media, normal media, they make you think how Malcolm X says, that the oppressed is actually your enemy. They're bad people, they deserve it, for example. That's what the media wants to tell you. But now even the media is forced to, in some aspects, to say some of the truth, some aspects. Why? Because that heart, Imam Sadiq alayhi salam mentions in some of the traditions, that heart of the young person is asra'u ila al-khair. The heart of a young person goes to khair, goes to good more easily. And he mentions to some of his companions and people that were spreading deen and religion, he says, why don't you go to the young people? Because their hearts go more towards the khair. You see, right now they're encamping themselves. And it's not something easy to stay in a tent for a long time. And some of them are asking for supplies to help, because they have to be there for a while. What happens? In Colombia we saw, in USC we just saw, which is right down, 95 students arrested. Imagine paying such a high tuition. Now it's like $60,000, $70,000 a year, and then you go to your own lawn that you help pay water the lawn, and then they arrest you, for example. Why? Because they're saying we're tired of genocide. We want to divest. We're saying things that we never even heard of, thought is possible here, but now the college students are awake. So this shows us that we have to be mindful of so many different things, of the oppressed, of our family, of, for example, Allah, of the prophets, the imams. So how can we, and we always want to see that always those corrupt powers were trying to make people forget. They want to make people play and have fun and be amused. They don't want them to wake up. Because when they wake up, they'll figure things out and say, we don't want you to rule us. We don't want this way. We want change. We want reformation, for example. When you look at some of the verses of the Holy Qur'an that we were mentioning about being unmindful, being in a constant state of ghafla, which a lot of people are, we said that first of all, that some of the verses talk about in the Holy Qur'an, they talk about wishing to come back to this world, wishing, having another chance. Brothers and sisters, we only have one life to live, only one life. And right now, whatever age you are, you have to understand that I'm at this age, time is flying very, very fast. Your experiences are, increased more and more. But when it comes to our duties, when it comes to this life, this precious capital that we have, we see that it's depleting. And how the poet mentions, it's in the Farsi language, the poet mentions that when you were young, you were mast, you were intoxicated. If I remember right there, Javani masti. When you're young, you're intoxicated. And then when you're older, that piri susti. When you're old, you can't have, for example, energy to worship anymore. Paske khuda parasti. Then when will you worship God? Because when you're young, you're intoxicated, you had the distractions. When you are old, now I want to worship God. Now I left all those distractions, but I just need to sleep. I just need to be in front of the couch and relax. My back hurts, my leg hurts, for example, teeth hurt. So this is our situation. We have to wake up before it's too late. So Qur'an mentions وَهُمْ يَسْتَرِخُونَ فِيهَا رَبَّنَا أَخْرِجْنَا نَعْمَلْ صَالِحًا غَيْرَ الَّذِي كُنَّا نَعْمَلْ. God, remove us. We will do righteousness. Take us away. We're dead. Take us back into the world. We will do other than we were doing. Many times have you failed a test? Or you got a bad score on a test. You say, oh, no, give me one more chance. Let me study and I'll do it again. Or course. But they say some tests, some exams, some parts in life, it's too late. You can't go back. It's just one time. And they wish, it says, yastarikhun, they cry out, Allah, allow me, I'll do good. I swear, I know everything's real. I know everything Masjed Nabi said was real, for example. Everything for example, Sayyid was saying, the verses of the Qur'an were true. Now let me go back. Then Qur'an answers, أَوَلَمْ نُعَمِّرْكُمْ مَا يَتَذَكَّرُ فِيهِ مَنْ تَذَكَّرُ. But did we not grant you life long enough? Did we not grant you life enough for whoever would remember therein to remember? Did we not give you enough life that if you wanted to remember, you should have remembered? Something should have woken you up. You went to that funeral. You should have woken you up because you say that maybe next time will be me. Maybe next time I will die. But you didn't pay attention. Or didn't we, for example, give you the Holy Qur'an and you read the verses about Jahannam or read the verses about the fire, heaven? Wasn't that enough for you to be reminded of? Didn't you pray salat all the time, for example, and after salat, you should have been thoroughly cleansed, and therefore you should have been in the place of tadakkur and not have been in ghafla. So what are the factors of ghafla? We talked about those last week. What causes us ghafla? Tonight we want to focus in this next 15-20 minutes. What can cause us to wake up? What can cause me to be reminded of God all the time? Brothers and sisters, everyone here, I imagine, everyone knows the truth. You know it. You know there's heaven. You know there's hell. You know that you're responsible for your good actions. You know God exists. But what keeps you away from God is that distraction. So what can we do that we can wake up? What can we do that we can be like those people that are always building for themselves? One of them themselves, the thing that the Qur'an says, the first thing, is try to do more dhikr throughout the day. Try to do more remembrance. Even right now, you're in the masjid. You have a tasbih or you don't, you have fingers. You do a little bit of dhikr. Qur'an mentions for us that this is one of the ways to wake up. وَاذْكُرْ رَبَّكَ إِذَا نَسِيتَ. Qur'an says, when you forget God, remember Him. Remember Him. The Prophet does Mi'raj. Rasulullah does Mi'raj. Mi'raj is one of the great miracles of Rasulullah. Because Allah takes him, one part of it is from Masjid al-Haram to Masjid al-Aqsa. Right? The tradition has he goes to other places too. Goes to Masjid Nabawi, for example. Goes to Medina. He goes to Masjid Kufa. And then he goes to Masjid al-Aqsa. Great. This is one part. Then there's the other journey that he goes from this world into the world of Malakut. an entire different realm. From the world which is the Alam al-Mulk, everything that exists, to Alam al-Malakut, an entire different world, where there he sees the other prophets, there he sees angels. And you cannot say it is a mi'raj, it is a ascension that is in some galaxy or somewhere in space. No, this is beyond space. It's a different realm. There he sees things. He has mushahidat. He witnesses things. One thing he witnessed is that people were busy building. The angels were busy building things, homes, palaces. What were they building? From gold and silver. Inshallah, your palaces right now are being built. But then they stop, and Rasulullah in the tradition is amazed. Why do they stop? He's surprised or asked, inquisitive of why they stop. He says, because they have stopped the dhikr. When they stop the remembrance, and saying dhikr means a remembrance, I come say, for example, dhikr lisani comes from the mouth. For example, subhanallahi walhamdulillahi wa la ilaha illallah wallahu akbar. In Islam, these dhikrs are very important for us. Just, Qur'an itself is introduced as a dhikr. Salat is a remembrance for us. But besides that, for example, one of the great dhikrs we have is Tasbiyat Fatimatu Zahra alayhi salam. They just say 34 times, Allahu Akbar, Alhamdulillah, 33, and Subhanallah. These are things that they're teaching us that throughout the day when we're driving, and this is your medicine. As much as they're bombarding us with all this consumerism, we're being a target of their advertising, well, one of the ways you can repel is dhikr. You're walking around and do dhikr, for example. You were just remembering either Allah, you're remembering, you're saying Subhanallah, Alhamdulillah, La ilaha illallah, Allahu Akbar. And that causes, and the tradition says, they get occupied again. They said, we don't have material to build because we don't have the dhikr. Then you say the dhikr and they're busy again. They're busy again and they're building for you. So the first way is to, wherever you are, especially when you have time alone, or you're driving. A lot of times we commute a lot, mashallah, in how big Los Angeles area is. We have a lot of time in the car. Make that time in the car, the commute that you have. Don't just always, for example, call this person, talk to that person. Leave some time for yourself. Or, for example, if you can, after salat, or you're just in the masjid, you enjoy. You enjoy dhikr. 2 is remembering the ni'mat of Allah. Remembering the blessings of God. This causes you to be mutadhakkir. A lot of times we're oblivious to what God has done for us. Right now, everyone here should say, Alhamdulillah, that I came to the masjid because I was healthy. If I was sick right now, would I be able to come to the masjid? If something happened with my family and friends, something emergency, I would not be able to make it. Alhamdulillah, right now we don't have that emergency. And you know how the emergency rooms are. Here, it takes about 8 hours just, for example, a doctor to see you. So all of these things, remember, Alhamdulillah, I'm healthy. Alhamdulillah, I can see you. Alhamdulillah, I'm assuming most people can hear me. Alhamdulillah, you can see me. These are blessings that we have. So you think, Allah, you've allowed me to see. Allah, you've allowed me. Yes, we might have sometimes some trials, tribulations, maybe some things God takes away from me. Yes, all of that is good. We know. Qur'an actually mentions some things you don't like. You have karaha, you don't like. It's actually good for you. You just don't know. Some things that you think is very good is actually shar for you, is evil. But alhamdulillah, I think of the blessings. Many times one of the best things to do in the nights of Qadr, the nights of, for example, you do ziyarah, is you just go and review and just say all the different things that Allah has done for you. As a child, as a baby, has protected you. And that you're this old. And count how many harm there was, danger there was for you. Being kidnapped, accidents, sicknesses, different things. Allah protected you. And He's your Rabb. And that's why some of the du'as say, Allah, I know that you have treated me so well in this world. I am hopeful for you, so you treat me the same way in the hereafter. You've protected me. You have been a good Lord, a good Rabb. Remember, you have to remember the blessings of God and attribute it to Him. If you have financial stability, thank Allah. If you have life, health, thank Allah. If you have deen and iman, thank Allah for this deen. Thank Allah that He allowed you to know Rasulullah, allowed you to know Ahlul Bayt alayhi salam. He allowed you to know the path. Today, in this country, many people want to be able to talk to God, they don't know how. They want to worship God, they don't know how to do it. They don't even know who is God, what is His attributes. All of you, Islam made, our Prophet and Imams made it clear for us. The books are there, the hadith is there, the jurists and fuqaha are there, the scholars are there, very clear. All we have to do is practice. That's all we have to do. There's no confusion for us. Yes, there is going to be some confusion until the Imam of the age comes. Sometimes some of the issues we have in the community and in the world we have, it is because the Imam is ghaib, because we need the infallible leader to make it clear. We can never truly reach our potential until the Imam Mahdi comes back. But still, the path is generally clear for us. The third that I'd like to say is remembering death. The Qur'an mentions, أَيْنَمَا تَكُونُوا يُدْرِكْكُمْ الْمَوْتُ وَلَوْ كُنْتُمْ فِي بُرُوجٍ مُشَيَّدَةٍ. Wherever you may be, death will overtake you, even if you're within towers of lofty construction, like the palace that Prophet Sulaiman had. And he was there on his cane, for example, observing his entire people, civilization that he had. He had armies of jinn. Qur'an mentions Prophet Sulaiman, who had an army of jinn? Sulaiman. They built for him. They did diving for him. They brought things for him, like the throne of Bilqis, Prophet Sulaiman. He has command of the winds. One of the prophets that had command over the winds. Today, when you go outside and you want the wind, it comes from the east, it's a little bit too much. Can you stop it, make it go from the west? You can't. But Prophet Sulaiman would travel with the winds. And with such power that he had, he was resting on his cane, and the angel of death comes and takes away his soul. Wherever you are, even in lofty towers, Allah will bring you death. And they thought for a while, they did not dare disturb Prophet Sulaiman. So he was there for a long time until they say the termites ate away his cane and he fell. And then they say, oh, Prophet Sulaiman is dead. He's been dead for a long time. He's been dead for a long time. There's an interesting narration. When Rasulullah goes to Mi'raj, there he sees the angel of death. He meets the angel of death. And we said in that world, the Malakut realm. The angel of death is mentioned that he comes to every house a few times a day. Every day he comes to our house. Today, according to this tradition, he came to us. And he tells those souls, for example, when he takes a life away, someone of your family members, some of your friends, for example, he takes them away, it mentions them, don't be sad. I will come back. I'm coming and backing soon. It will be your turn soon. The house will remain and nobody else will be in it anymore. I will take away the life of everyone in this house. We cry so much, but we don't know. Maybe tomorrow it's my turn, for example. So remembering death, and that is one of the beauties that Allah, mysteries that Allah has never allowed us to know when we will die. Generally, people do not know when you'll die. And it's good, because if I know I was going to die at the age of 100, I would try to, for example, commit every single sin in the book. And then at the age of 99.999, I'll say, Astaghfirullah Rabbi wa atubu ilayh. And I'll come to Masjed Nabi and keep worshipping and say, Astaghfirullah. And then the angel of death would come and alhamdulillah, I'd go to heaven. But we don't know. We don't know this because we take advantage of it. Because we don't know that actually maybe if I do every sin in the book, at that time I don't want to worship Allah anymore. My soul wants to reject it. There are people that when they were dying, holy people came to them, says, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. They would say, I hate Allah, for example, during their death. Na'udhu billah. Why did God do this to me? And they would die with anger with God. Because their heart was with attachment of the world. When that heart is attached and you're taking that thing that they love a lot, they get angry. Why is Allah taking my soul? Why is He doing this to me? I have so many kids I have to raise, for example. I have this home that I just built, for example. I have this company to run. God, what are you doing? Stop, for example. But they can't. So remembering death is the other is how a Muslim should be. I want to read for you this tradition that we have from the Prophet. Let's recite Salawat ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. One of our most fearless companions of Rasulullah. Remember, we love the companions. We love the companions that listen to Rasulullah. Those companions we love. They listened to him while he was alive. They listened to him after he passed away. We love those companions. We love Salman. We love Miqdad. We love Abu Dhar. We love them. Abu Dhar is one of the fearless companions of Rasulullah, one of the defenders of Ali ibn Abi Talib alayhi salam, and one of the speakers of truth. He had to speak the truth, even though they were forced and they kicked him out to a faraway land. But Abu Dhar would always say the truth, and he was actually, they starved him. Towards his end of his life, he lived in a sincere amount of poverty. To Abu Dhar, and they tested him. Actually, he had such high iman, they tried to sell the wilayat of Ali ibn Abi Talib. Said, come here, for example. They'd give him prizes and give him gifts to Abu Dhar to change his opinion, so he would sell out Amir al-Mu'mineen. And he would be surprised. He'd say, why are you doing this? Why do you think the wilayat of Amir al-Mu'mineen is this price, is this low? These gifts for wilayat of Imam Ali, it's much higher. 2, why would you think I'd ever sell out Ali ibn Abi Talib? Even when he was starving for maybe this tradition, 2 or 3 days he didn't eat anything. And they would bring him gifts and he would say, no, I don't want it. I don't want to switch sides. Prophet mentions to Abu Dhar in Amaliyat Tawsi, قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم أتحب أن تدخل الجنة. Very short hadith, very powerful. Abu Dhar, do you like to go to heaven? And he says, قلت نعم فداك أبي. May my father be sacrificed to Rasulullah. I want to go to heaven. قال, and he gives him 3 pieces of advice, very short but very effective. Do you want to go to heaven? فَقْصِرْ مِنَ الْأَمَلِ. فَقْصِرْ مِنَ الْأَمَلِ. What does amal mean? Not amal with an ain, amal with a hamza. There's 2 different amal. Hope, or make those long dreams that you have short. Do you have a long dream? Do you have a plan for yourself? For one day I will become, for example, I will buy a home, or then I'll buy a few homes. Then I'll have this business happening, my career, this will happen. I have long dreams. Is it bad to be a dreamer? No, if it's realistic. But to be engulfed in it, to make it your number 1 priority in life, yes, that is bad. Because then you only want God if He's helping you with your dreams. Well, what if He shatters your dreams? What if He takes everything away from you? Would you still love Allah? So plan as if you're going to live forever, but do not think there's a guarantee that you'll live forever. Plan that also, at the same time, expect that I might leave this world today. And you see, those that are successful, those that had a plan. It's not like they just live life every day. They had a plan, but they cut their dreams short. And they didn't always have these dreams that were fantasies for some people. Many people, they live in this material fantasy that, they noticed when I was in New York once. I was observing some of the videos in Manhattan that, a lot of people in those very expensive penthouses, they don't have curtains. The culture that we have, Islamic leisure, we put curtains on everything, make sure nobody sees. But no, those that live in those rich, very expensive penthouses in Manhattan, it's in a way they're observing. And they say a lot of people, they come and they look at these homes And they watch even. They observe, oh, he bought a new fridge, for example. Oh, he got a new big screen TV. They're just wondering how they're living because sometimes some of these penthouses cost 40, $50 million. And they say, maybe one day, and they're going to work, and they say, maybe one day that will be me in there. They look at it for a sense of hope. Maybe one day you'll see me. I'll be on top of these towers and looking at everyone, and I'll be having my bubble bath, or I'll be watching TV or whatever, and these poor guys are going to work with the subway, with the rats and everything in New York, and I'll be watching them. So this is an example of having long dreams, fantasies. But he says, in reality, they would say, we cannot reach that. There's no way, amount of work that I can do without have this job, for example, that I'll have $50 million to spend, for example. So unfortunately, shaitan and the nafs wants to make your focus be this world. And to make you in a way that your entire desires, you have this love of kamal, of perfection. But shaitan wants to say, hey, your perfection's here. This is it. If you live in there, if you buy that, you'll be perfect. That's all you need to do. But actually, Allah said, no, your perfection is over there. What you want, your baqa is over there. You'll be everlasting there. Your completeness will be over there. Whatever you buy here won't make you complete. So make your dreams short. Be satisfied when you have something. You have a nice home, a nice apartment. You're renting, it's fine. You're in security, you have life. Enjoy what you have. This way you also, when you have, in a way you're away from tama, in a way you'll be living an easier life. 2, وَجْعَلَ الْمَوْتِ نُصْبَ عَيْنَيْكِ, and place death in front of your eye. Place death in a way in front of your eye. Sometimes you brothers and sisters work, you have a little note on your monitor, or now they have reminders that pop up, for example, when you have a meeting from Outlook or whatever, pops up, for example, meeting, reminder, or on your phone, you have this meeting. Well, what if you have, for example, we place death in a way that it comes as a reminder for you all the time. Tonight, you tell yourself, tonight, it might be the last night. This might have been my last salat. How would you treat your life different? Maybe with my family, I would make sure I'm very good with my family. It might be my last night. Maybe when it comes to, for example, spending in the way of Allah, I'll be more generous because tonight will be my last night. And the third is, وَاسْتَحِي مِنَ اللَّهِ حَقَّ الْحَيَاءِ, and have haya, have shame from Allah, the reality of shame. Live in your life in a way you're always in shame of God. You're modest. Allah is always watching you. Imagine if you did something and your parents saw you, your friends saw you, be ashamed. Now imagine, for example, a marja taqlid saw you, a great scholar saw you. Imagine now the imam of the age saw you. Now imagine Rasulullah saw you. Now imagine Allah is watching you. You committed this action and Allah is watching you. You would have shame. Why did I do this? So pay attention to these 3 things. This is the remedy that if we take, you want to enter heaven and you want to do away from ghafla, 1, shorten those dreams that you have in this world, those false dreams. 2, place death, make death ready for you all the time. And 3, have haya and have modesty. Inshallah, will be those that will enter heaven. Please recite Salat ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad wa ali.